Are you an Enneagram type 3 or an Enneagram type 8? That is the mystery we are going to hopefully be solving today for you. Our type 3s are sometimes known as the achiever, the performer, the role model. Our type 8s are sometimes known as the challenger, the protector, the boss. And while they do have some key similarities, they also have some key differences that we're going to dig into our Enneagram detective bag and solve this Enneagram mystery today. So when you're ready, I will see you inside the video. Well, welcome to this episode of Enneagram Mysteries, hopefully solved. I am your lead detective and host, Sarah Wallace, owner and lead trainer over here at Enneagram MBA. Today, we're going to be helping you hopefully solve the mystery of am I a type 3 or am I a type 8? So we have some key clues we're going to take a look at to hopefully help you solve this mystery. Before we do, though, I want to lay the foundation for each of these types. Now, both of them are in the what is called the assertive stance. So they're both very focused on going far, going fast, making things happen. They tend to have a lot of energy, tend to be very future focused. And so that can be a very common reason for the confusion between the two. But there are, like I said, some key differences that we're going to look at. At the end of the day, though, a 3 is a 3 because of their striving to feel outstanding. They want to feel successful. And they will use their arrow to a type 9, which is striving to feel at peace, to striving to feel peaceful, to complement that outstanding strategy. And that looks like making that success look effortless, making their accomplishments look like it was so easy. It just comes so natural to them, which in a lot of times it does. But also I know that there is a lot of hard work and effort that is going in under the surface that maybe you're not seeing happen. You're just seeing the top of the swan glide, not the paddling underneath. And then type 3s tend to shy away and neglect their arrow to the type 6, which is known as striving to feel safe and secure. It on the surface, it appears to be in direct conflict with that desire to feel outstanding. You know, if you're safe and secure, you might come across as, they see it sometimes as settling, as just being average, when the type 3 wants to be outstanding. But ironically, that is the exact energy that they will want to complement their striving to feel outstanding with, and happens to be their growth arrow, which we'll maybe get to a little bit at the end here. The type 8, known as the challenger, the boss, the protector, they are striving to feel powerful and strong. And to complement that strategy, they will pull in their energy from their arrow 5. So the 5 is striving to feel capable, competent, really kind of detached. And so 8s will use that. They want to feel capable, confident in order to feel powerful, right? And then they will also detach from their feelings, from difficult situations, to be able to continue to move powerfully into the future. Their strategy that they tend to neglect the most is their arrow to the type 2, which is striving to feel connected. Relationships can open you up to vulnerabilities. You could be taken advantage of. Someone could betray you. So that tends to be the energy out of all the types that an 8 will neglect the most. Ironically, like the 3, this type 2 energy is their growth path, and will be some things to focus on to really complement them and lead them successfully on their own growth path into the future. So that's some foundational information. When that still is not clear, we're going to take a look at a couple of other key clues that hopefully will help you solve this type 3 versus type 8 mystery. One of the first things to look at is how you feel about what others think. We're human beings, so of course there's going to be some level of care about what other people think. Type threes tend to care much more. And it's because of that striving to feel outstanding. And a lot of times in the stereotypical three, now as you grow on your personal growth, professional development journey, it will be less about what others think of you, how outstanding others think of you, and more about how you feel about yourself. But in that stereotypical range, type threes very much care about what others think of them, and how outstanding, how successful do they appear to others. Whereas type eights care, of course, again, we're human beings, not to say that they don't care at all, but they care much less about what others think. They're not as wrapped up or focused, maybe is a better word, into what others are thinking of them, how they look to others. They're going to do what they want to do. They're going to tell it like it is. They're going to have that brutal honesty. They're going to be direct. And some people might like it, some people may not, but either way, they're fine with it. Take it or leave it. This is kind of who I am, is the energy that the eight will bring. So take some time to think on that. That is one of those things that the only person you have to be honest with is yourself in this situation. And that could be something that, takes a minute to really, reflect on, look at yourself through, an objective lens. How much do I really care? The second thing to look at is how much enjoyment you get from tasks, big tasks, little tasks. Now, type threes love a good checklist. They love a good to-do list. We talk about crossing things off on your to-do list with our type threes. And so for them, it can be a big check. It can be a little check off, whatever. It feels so good to be moving forward, no matter how big the step is towards their ultimate goal. They just love to be able to check things off. Whereas an eight, those little tasks, those checklists of little details of things to do, really frustrate and almost annoy a type eight, because they just have such a big vision, and type threes do as well. They are excellent at being able to have the big vision and then also come up with the step-by-step of what needs to happen. Whereas eights will have a big vision, and the details of how to get there, just isn't something I want to be bothered by. If it's frustrating, they might hand that off. They might skip over it altogether and have to come back to it later. But that's something else to look. Your relationship with those little details, how good it feels to check off a checklist. If you even like to have a checklist, something to consider there. The other thing to consider and reflect on, again, the only person you have to be honest with is yourself, is your ability and willingness, I guess is a better word, to conform. And while threes would never describe themselves necessarily as a conformist, they are a little bit more willing to conform because they have this incredible superpower of being able to read a room and know exactly who I need to be in this room. What is this? What is this occasion? What is this person in front of me? What do they need? Who do I need to be in this situation to sometimes, get that approval, to look a certain way, this image that I am going for? How do I need to kind of conform or mold or shape shift in this situation for this person to achieve that? Whereas eights, tend to, not that they can't, but they tend to not have that superpower of reading a room and knowing what people need and who they need to be as much as the three. They're going to just kind of they have the greatest energy of all the types on the Enneagram, and they're just going to use that force of nature that they have to get things done, rather than maybe be a little bit more politically correct or diplomatic, like the type 3 will be. A type 8 tends to be known as the rebel for a good reason. They're much more willing to break the rules, kind of make their own rules, despite what anybody else is going to think. The other thing to think about is our type 8 is in the body center. Type 3 is in the heart center. What does that mean? What's a clue that you can kind of dig into a little bit more for yourself? It's to think about what your focus is. Each type has an emotional struggle in these centers of intelligence. Our type 3, they tend to be focused on my identity and my personal significance in the world. 2s, 3s, 4s kind of tend to have that as their focus. We can all have a focus on that. We can all want that, right? But for those in the heart center, that tends to be something of focus for them. And then their emotional struggle around that, you'll see and hear about being shame and sometimes hostility, about shame for not living up to that ideal image, shame for not having, or maybe even hostility for not having the significance, the importance that they want in that whatever area it is of their life. So, again, not something necessarily that is a strength here. It's more of the shadow side of that. So it may not be as visible to you, or may not be ready to take a look at that, but that's what that looks like for the type 3. I've also heard from type 3s that they do have a lot of feelings, but sometimes they will just push them to the side, thinking, okay, we got a goal, we have a job to do. Let's push those to the side, and we'll come back to them. So it's not that they don't feel. This type is repressed, is what they call it, in the heart center. So they do have those feelings. They just tend to move them to the side until they can come back to them. The problem is you just don't always come back to them. Our type 8s are in that body center. So where a 3 is focused on the identity and the significance, an 8 is going to be dealing with aggression and sometimes repression. And their emotional struggle is going to be around anger, maybe even some rage. And so to think about, of course, we can all have rage. We can all be angry. But when you just sit for a moment and think, okay, this core emotional struggle, is it that of the body type, anger, rage, or is it where you're either very aggressive with that anger, or you're trying to repress it and shove it down, which is typical of type 1s, type 9s. 8s tend to be a little bit more, much more open with that anger. Or is your core emotional struggle kind of around that shame, potentially hostility around not living up to your own expectations of your ideal image of who you want to be? And then when it comes to dealing with conflict, a little similar here. Our type 3s are in what's known as the competency triad, with our 1s and our 5s. And those in this tend to first react to a conflict, to a challenge with, we're sensible adults here. Let's just get to work. I'm sure there's an effective, efficient solution to this challenge. Let's just get to work and try to solve it. It's typically a 3 might approach that. It's stereotypical. It's not to say always, all the time, but it is a common tendency of a 3. The type 8, along with our 4s and our 6s, are in that emotional reactivity triad, where for an 8, again, tends to be very much having an emotional reaction, typically with anger, a strong emotional reaction that they want others to feel as much as they feel, is a clue to look at. Again, not all the time. 3s can be angry. 8s can deal with conflict with competency, with data and efficient solutions, but just kind of that initial quick reaction. Stereotypically, that's how each of them will come at that. Last clue that can help is looking more into that stress arrow and paying attention to, after I have kind of gone through my own defense strategies, coping mechanisms, what do I look like in that at that point? What are some of my common behaviors? For a type 8, they tend to go to a type 5 coping mechanisms, defense strategies in times of conflict, which means they are going to isolate. They may get even more stubborn. They may feel like someone's going to betray them, kind of questioning, thinking about that kind of thing, and pull away in times of stress and very difficult situations. Now, a type 3, after they exhaust all of their kind of go-to defense mechanisms, coping strategies, they're going to make a lateral move over to that type 9 energy and take on some of the numbing out behaviors that you'll see some of the 9s also do in their times of stress. Numb out, right? Veg out, zone out. And for a 3 who is constantly go, 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 most of these 3s that I have talked to will have some sort of experience of complete burnout at some point and just shutting down because they can no longer, maintain this workaholic kind of go, go, go all the time. And then they will deal with it by going on the other end of the extreme. And you may also see some busyness still, but it may not be their typical, just really productive and effective work and hustle and busy that you'll see them do, because they may be so overwhelmed. I'm going to stay in motion, but I'm not sure right now exactly what the most pressing thing is in this time of stress, where in normal times, very focused on what needs to be done. And then some self-doubt might also creep in. 3s and 8s both tend to be very self-confident, but in times of stress, you might see yourself taking on some of that self-doubt that a 9 will have as well in stress. So that's something to consider, and something that I hear helps a lot of other clients when they're trying to narrow it down is look at where they go to in stress. So hopefully with these Enneagram clues, you have solved your mystery of, am I a type 3 or am I a type 8? If you have questions, if you're still uncertain, I do offer in focus 60-minute sessions to help you continue to narrow down your type. We get into some, depending on where you're at in your journey, your subtype, how that will show up and how that will flavor your dominant Enneagram type. And really most importantly, how to use what you are learning about your type, what you are learning about yourself in real life, in the workplace, in your career, starting a business. So I'm going to invite you to check out some of those options at Enneagram MBA/Enneagram-coaching. I'll drop the link below here. An in-focus session might be able to provide some additional clues, personalized clues into helping you find your type and then helping you use that information in real life. So thank you so much for being here. If you liked this video, subscribe to the channel. We have more this or that Enneagram mysteries coming. If you feel like somebody else would also be helped with this, by this, please share with them. Thanks for being here, and I will see you soon.